Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Today is, what is today? Today is May 23rd. We haven't had a meeting so long, I forgot what day it is. Today's May 23rd. This is the Board of Selectmen meeting, a regular meeting. Roll call tonight. I am Bob Carlson, the first selectman. We also have Brett Mastriani, selectman, Selectwoman Nicole Porter, and Admin Finance Director Christine Dias. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, we'll start with public comment on non-agenda items. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Anybody here? Hello, Brian. Anybody online? Christine, no comment? Okay. Do we have any comments by either of the two selectmen?
I just had a quick one. I know we received an email. I don't think it's on the agenda. From an Alice Dunn about wanting to advertise a drug and alcohol rehab resource on our town page. And I don't know what our policy is about that. I don't know if you guys, did you guys get it as well? I'm trying to look to see who
So
she
Nicole, I
sent
do
it
get a lot of those. I usually send them to Jim to go through because he's familiar with the policy.
to. Okay,
I just had one I sent him today as actually not from that person, but from somebody else on drug awareness. So sometimes it's a direct link.
that's what
So-
he's asking to share.
Yeah, and it's not that I'm opposed to, I just don't know what we've done in the past, and I just sent a few to Jim. I might have sent that one to him also, but
Okay.
how long ago did that come in, do you know?
So she actually sent it to me on May 19th first, and then she just resent it today at 11 a.m.
She sends it to almost everyone at town hall.
Okay. All right. I mean, I just want to be able to get, back to her. I don't know what our policy is. I mean, I could understand that our town site can get very cluttered easily if we're advertising everything out there. It is just a link. So maybe what I'll do is forward it to you, and then you can take a look and see if it's something you'd already received. And
Let me
then
just see if
maybe
that's what I
just-
sent to Jim. Hang on.
Okay, yeah.
I think before we advocate something like that on our website, we should check with Ledgelight or someone else to see if it's a reputable program and something that we should.
Yeah.
Publicize.
For sure. It's, her name is Alice Dunn, and it's just www.rehab.com in Connecticut.
No, I had one from a Victoria Anderson I sent to Jim today, which is probably something similar. But I can check with,
Yeah, I'll forward this to you.
okay,
and
I
then-
don't see that one,
Okay.
so.
All right. And then I just wanted to thank you, Bob, because you send Brett and I emails, just FYI, right? Like I met with this one. And one of them was about work that's being done up on one of our state roads. And I had somebody, a friend of mine, reach out through my town email and say, what's going on with this? And I felt very informed to say, oh, that's state work going on. It isn't going to be completed for a while. And so I just wanted to thank you very much
Oh, you're
for
welcome.
keeping us informed on what you're doing and who you're meeting with and all of that stuff.
Great. Yeah, I tried. So, thank you. Anything else, Nicole? Brett, do you have something?
Yeah, I'll echo what Nicole said. That is great because I had a question similar about the road work and I was able to answer the basic questions on it. Anything more, I did refer them to call you. Also, I just wanted to touch on, just because over the past 2 days, I've gotten a lot of questions about KINSA's event on June 1st. I had 3 people at breakfast come up to me and 4 people that came to my store today, residents, to discuss it. And while I'm looking forward to hearing what they are proposing on June 1st. I just think the public should know that we haven't talked about anything yet. It's not a town committee or anything like that, because I think there is some misconception out there that we've already voted on something or something's moving forward. So I am looking forward to hearing about it on June 1st, but I just wanted to let the public know, if anyone's listening, that it's nothing that we've discussed as a group, or actually even individually I haven't, but
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely sparked lots of interest and conversations online. As the invitation's been shared, I'm definitely going, as well to hear what's going on. But yeah, kind of the first that I had heard of it in seeing, the advertisement and comments.
So, I will tell you what I know. What I read in the paper, basically is what I know. I was asked by, Mary Ann Ricker about 2 weeks ago if she could do a presentation at one of our future meetings. We agreed on the June 13th meeting. I asked, what is this about? And she said, we just have a proposal. We want to give the selectmen, it pertains to Winterchalk Hill. And that's all I know. So, I said, that's fine. Anybody can do a presentation to the Board of Selectmen. That's what we're here for, to listen. And that's where we left it. After that, we heard there's going to be like a learning meeting with wine at the library, which I didn't know that was going to happen. I wasn't told that. I did get an invitation in the mail, but unfortunately I have another commitment that evening. So if you and Brett go, that's great. But apparently that they will, whatever they do at that meeting, and maybe unveil what that plan is, then they'll bring it to us, the Board of Selectmen, on the 13th. So, and that's it. So I've got a lot of questions also, and to be honest with you, I don't know. I'll tell people, if you read the paper, then you know exactly what I know, except for the fact that they are coming to us on the 13th, which was not in the paper.
one other thing, I just want to mention that the first farmer's market was held on Sunday. It was great that the sun came out. Hewitt Farm actually looks really nice this time of year, and there were a lot of people there on a pretty consistent basis. A little different than last year when we had the big rush at first. It was kind of steady throughout the day, which was nice, but a lot of residents came out, and some people from out of the town came out just because they were driving by. So it was nice to see people experience, and it seems like everyone that walks from the parking lot up stops on the bridge and takes a look around. So it is nice. But I just want to let you know that it went off smoothly, and it'll be a nice summer.
It's a great addition to the town, and I'm glad we have it. Okay, you all set, Brett? Okay. First, Selectmen correspondence and comment. I've got some correspondence. So the first one I give you is from a resident that was concerned that they will be out of town during the month of July when we're selling vouchers for the transfer station. And we got back to her and let her know that we'll be selling them after the initial, in July. That's when the selectmen will be selling them at Town Hall, and on those Saturdays we talked about in July, possibly from 9 to 12 for 3 Saturdays in a row. But after that, we'll move, we think we'll get through 2/3 of the, the sales by that point, maybe even more, and then we'll turn it back over to the transfer station. They'll be selling them up there. We just, so we ordered the stickers today.
We are in the process of getting a sample sticker, so we know that we like it.
The good news is the stickers that we're getting is at a much reduced cost than the last time we bought stickers. So that's a good thing. Right now that we're leaning towards a lime green sticker. And it'll have, that won't have the town seal on it, but it will have the expiration date on it of June 30th, 2025. So people will know they're good for 2 years. Okay, second, I have some additional correspondence that we're going to talk about a little bit later. This is from the Conservation Commission, and this is some of the information we'll talk about when it gets to the conservation easement a little bit later in the discussion. And then here is the last piece I want to hand you. This came from another resident, and she wanted us to talk about it when we get to opioid use. So that'll be farther again later on in our meeting. So those are things we can pull back out later when we get to them. Okay, so where are we? We're at old business, which is demolition of the one-story 298 Village Worcester Road. So we know that the building's down, the sod is, or the hydro seed is in. We had the fire company come and spray it once before we got the rain, then we got the rain, and then we have like a cannon, water cannon that we have over there now that the highway garage is gonna be spraying it tomorrow. It's something we've had. They used to use it on the sports fields. So we kind of dug it out and we're gonna use it because Charlie said when the fire company did it, he felt that the pressure was a little bit too harsh. It might have been tearing it up a bit. So we're gonna try to keep it watered before it just gets really hot and burns up. So the only thing left to do is there's a cap that goes on top of the new brick wall. Once we get that cap in, it's on order. It should be coming in fairly soon. It's a musket brown bent aluminum cap to match the rest of the school. And once that's on, they're completely done. I have not got a final bill from them yet. But what we have is roughly 100, counting what they have in retainage, we have 142,385 left out of the $1 million. That could all go, partial could go. If it's any more than that, I will fight that. So that's where we are. Hoping for the best.
Bob, just a question on that.
Yes,
So if we're at 142, we haven't okayed any change orders.
we have
So
not.
technically they can't charge us any.
They can't, but technically they can't, but in all fairness, we've been working together to get this job complete. And I know that they've done things for us as we've done for them to try to make the thing work. So technically, probably, maybe not. But there'll be a conversation I'm gonna have to have with them and see how they want to approach it.
Well, I would just like that if there is an additional cost that it comes to the board
Oh, wait,
for us to vote on it. if
I will
there's
make sure that
additional-
you guys have all the information on it. Okay. Yeah.
I was just noticing after, or that day, that we did have a lot of rain, that it was definitely flooding in the middle. And I know that this is not something that is gonna be our final product out there. I don't know, I'll be surprised after that rain if a lot of the hydro seed stuff washed away but I think whatever we end up doing, there appears to be a little divot in the middle where we had some pretty good, a little pond.
I think some of that is settling where that was probably where the basement was and dirt's probably settled.
Yeah,
When we have that community conversation, which we'll talk about later, if that becomes something that we need to have a flat field, not a park. If it's a park, we don't have to do that.
no,
But if we're gonna have some sort of a sports field, that's one of the quick solutions.
Yeah.
Then that would have to be
we would have
filled
to
in.
fill
Yes.
that in some more, yeah,
Yeah, but, and that'll be yet to be determined because that's the town's decision, so,
yeah.
okay. Anything else on that? Any questions so far on anything we spoke about? If not, we'll carry on. Gonna go to vacancies, appointments. So we have a few tonight. Let's talk about sustainable CT. So Alexis was supposed to give a presentation this evening, but she had a meeting in Providence, so I kind of let her off the hook and she will come to a future meeting. She said either the 13th or the 27th, so we'll check and see what the agendas look like and put her on one that's not going to be so crowded. But she wants to do a nice presentation, and today she would have done like a 5 or 10 minute, then rushed out the door and tried to race to Providence. So, but she did put forth a candidate that she would like to have appointed to the committee, Emma Stuffen, who's fairly new in town. Her and her husband run a no-till farm up on Dennison Hill Road. And actually Emma will come with Alexis that evening and explain to us what that is and how it works. It's something that's new. She did go to the agricultural farm we had in Sterling a few months ago. So I met her there, and I'm excited that she is going to be on sustainable. And I think this is when she's going to bring this information to us, and I don't exactly know how it works. So I thought, why not share it with all three selectmen at the same time? So, but I would like to get her appointed tonight to sustainable if we could.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to appoint Emma Sutphin to the North Stonington Sustainability Committee.
I'll second.
Okay, second. So any other discussion?
Just, so I'm just looking at it. So what is the total amount of membership? 13 members, right?
I'm not
That's what
sure.
we started, okay. I just would like to hopefully see some more diversity in that group, with some of our next candidates.
Okay.
How does how is the board, created? I mean, is there are no rules as far as balanced board or?
So there's no rule, you have to fall under minority representation, but when you look at minority representation, it's on the whole board. So it's not just how many members you have, it's how many members you could have. So we're allowed 13, so you can have a lot from one party or not, but right now it'll be all one party seated, no matter what. And that doesn't violate any rules or anything. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just going forward. I'd like to try to
Yeah.
get some unaffiliated people on board and
If you could find them.
I know, that's it.
That's the
You
problem.
know, maybe, well, that's another topic, but that'd be nice to get a little more outreach for a lot of these boards.
So I think in considering what the nature is of this particular committee, having someone that does no-till farming will add to it and bring education to the town, which is always a great thing. So, any other discussion?
No.
Hearing none. All those in favor of appointing Emma M. Stutfin to the North Sounders Sustainable Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 3-0. I'll get a hold of her, leave her an email or something tomorrow, let her know she has to be sworn in at Town Hall. Next, Conservation Commission had two candidates, Monica Dumont and Josh Strunk. They had a tough time deciding, but then they found out that one of their members who's on the commission now will be leaving. He just wants to get through the conservation easement issue we're having right now with the Mashantuckets. He thinks probably within the next few weeks, he'll resign from the board, which will open up a second spot. So the board is.
Do we know, are you allowed to say who that is?
Yeah, I said Josh Strunk.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
So,
I thought he was the second person that wanted to be on it.
oh, he
Wants
is.
To step.
Oh,
off.
you want, no, you want to know who's stepping off?
Yeah.
I do know this, Mancini, what's his name? Well, Jason Mancini
Okay.
has told Bill Ricker that he'd be stepping
Okay.
off. So, Monica Dumont is who the Conservation Commission would like to put forth as of tonight. And then I reached out to her too, but I didn't hear back. I don't think, it was probably last minute that I tried to get her here, so she'll be at the next Conservation Commission meeting and come to visit us one of these nights to introduce herself. So, could we hear a nomination for Monica Dumont to the Conservation Commission?
Go ahead.
My mic was off. I'll make that motion, Monica Dumont, to the
Great, thank you.
Conservation Commission.
And,
I'll second.
great. Any other discussion?
One little tidbit I'd like to add. I know we talked about getting to meet them before we appoint, and I know it didn't work out tonight, but maybe in the future, then we hold off appointing until they can make it to one of the meetings.
I'm gonna take the blame for that, because I knew about this and I just didn't think about calling them. And actually, we were talking about it today, and I said to Christine, I just sent out 2 emails because I forgot to invite them. So, I'll have them come to another meeting, and I agree with you, Brad. I think that's a great idea, but that's on my fault.
Now, do you send a welcome letter to them and saying,
No, I
Right,
just reach
just
out to
curious.
let them know about how to, have to go and they have to be sworn in and so on. And I thank them for, giving me the time, obviously. I did that in the emails today. Whether they can make it out, thank you for offering your time to the town. So,
and one last question, do you reach out to them first as well?
no, I haven't.
I'm just curious, because when I first went on EDC, it was actually Bill Ricker that reached out to me, and we had a long conversation before,
No,
I
I reach
I
out to
got
everybody else.
yeah, I was just curious as the process now, but perfect.
I'd be glad to amend how I do it, believe me, just remind me. So sometimes I forget, so, okay.
I love her comment. I want to get involved in town activities without being too political. I think that it's great that there are things for people to, I think everybody kind of shies away, everybody that I mention it to, and they're like, oh, I'm not getting involved in that. But there are a lot of ways that you can serve the town
And
without
there's a lot
being
of
too political.
And there's a lot of commissions and boards that aren't on the firing lines all the time, like,
Yes.
like the Board of Finance, the Board of Selectmen and so on. So, all right,
That is the nice thing about small
Yes,
town, is that
there's
it isn't, a lot of times it's not political, it's
Yep.
just about
ways to
your
help.
feelings. So it's great.
So, can I get a vote? All those in favor of, appointing Monica Dumont to the Conservation Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, great. I'll contact Monica tomorrow. And last is the Juvenile Review Board. We just made sure that there was no changes. There's two people on the board that have to be reappointed. The board only meets when there's a need. If there's like a case they have to hear, like Jason McCarthy's on it. Not sure if the other trooper's been put on it yet. Has he? Okay. Joe Gross is the chair. And the two people we have to reappoint, Cheryl Beckett, who was a teacher at our school for a long number of years, and Wayne Coates. So I'd like to hear a motion to get them reappointed to the Juvenile Review Board. if
I'll
possible.
make a motion as read.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second as Cheryl Beckett as an alternate at-large member and Wayne Coates as an at-large member. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, so we've got everyone appointed.
Do we have any idea the last time they did meet and
Uh,
were
this
active?
last week.
Last week?
Mhm.
Or on a particular
Mhm.
situation?
Yeah. Yes.
Good.
Didn't they?
They met last week.
Oh,
for
that
their
was the annual meeting. Okay,
They thought they were going to have a case and then it turned out that the person was not eligible to be a case.
okay.
So,
Okay,
the
so-
last time they had a case was probably, October of last year, I think.
And just for my education, what kind of cases are referred to the juvenile board?
Usually it's, usually comes from the school,
The school.
obviously a juvenile. And some of that you're going to, they do create penalty, they do create work, ways to repay whatever wrong you may have done. Typically, they want to deal with juvenile because they don't want to go through the court system. They want to do it on a local level. It's worked very well. They've told me in the past. I don't know a lot about it because I'm not supposed to. It's all supposed to be kept in. It's like, almost like their executive session, which is fine. But if it works, then that's great.
They
Yep.
handle some truancy cases and then they also handle some,
Says non-felony
yeah,
first offenders
yeah.
on our website.
Okay.
So basically, if something happens, the principal or the superintendent refer the case to the juvenile review board with the approval of the trooper. So the trooper can see if they have any other issues in their past that have come up, because if you're a second-time offender, you're not eligible.
And do we know if other towns of our size, is this a common thing? Or is this something that might be specific to North Stonington?
So I think we started this in either 97 or 99. And it's been very successful for our town. And I know that Joe Gross has a manual that he's shared with other towns. I don't know if they've implemented it, but he does have the materials that he has shared with other communities.
Excellent. That's great. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions,
One of
comments?
the things that I love about our schools and North Stonington.
Nothing online, right? Okay. Next, 6C, opera funding. You
Nope.
got a,
Go back to vacancies.
excuse me, I have a note. So we do have another vacancy.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Who resigned?
No.
So no,
It's-
nobody, this
existing
happened a
vacancy.
while back, but I think we haven't met for a while, have we? So you know that the administrative assistant has left.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and she's going on to hopefully in her case, a great position with Con College. I think it's wonderful that, someone of her age can get her foot in the door with a bigger company. I mean, we were offering part-time work with no medical, and it's great for some, but not great for all. And when you're, 24, 25-year-old trying to establish yourself in a career. So that's totally understandable. And she did a wonderful job while she was with us. And I can't say enough good things about all she did. And also with the EDC, I was told the other night that if it wasn't for her, some things just wouldn't get done. She did a lot of the legwork for them as far as marketing and sending mailers out. And she's still working with EDC, by the way. She's doing that on the side, and she's also taking minutes to our meetings for now. So she's agreed to do that for a while. There was a small stipend for that. We're paying for that. All right, so, but that brings me to the next point, is we have not been able to find a replacement. We've had it open for a long time. We don't close it. We've got multiple applications. When we weed through them, there's a small percentage that we think that we want to interview. And so far, each case where we've called and said, hey, we'd like to have you come and interview with us, they either don't call us back or they say they've moved on to something else. I think part of it is the fact that what the job pays is $16 an hour with no benefits.
Do we advertise that on the job description?
And we still got applicants.
Considering minimum wage is going to 15 July 1st, I would think at 16, you're not gonna get many applicants.
No,
Or at least qualified applicants.
I had thought that maybe a number like 18 would be a more palatable number I mean, you're not gonna get benefits, but 18, you're working 4 hours a week, and we've said you can pick the 4 hours as long as it's the same all the time. So if you wanna do 8 to 12, you wanna do 10 to 2, do you wanna do
Oh, 4 hours a day.
4 hours a day, not a week, I'm
Gotcha.
sorry. So 4 hours a day, so, but you pick the 4, but just can be consistent each day. I mean, there's an advantage to each of those times, right? Depending on what I'm doing during the day, or, you know, if it's a stay-at-home mom, maybe a 10 to 2 would work, because there's children in school. So maybe that would work. If it's someone that wants to get up and get done by noon time, we could do a 8 to 12 or 12 to 4. So when we find the right person, we could offer that to them.
How much can we absorb in the budget because we haven't had somebody?
I'm not worried about the current year. I'm worried about starting July 1st because we only had it budgeted.
Oh, that's true.
For July 1st.
And what do we have budgeted for?
So if we increased it to $18 an hour, it would be an additional $2,080 for next fiscal year. For that,
Did we have to
$2
go,
increase.
do we have to go to the Board of Finance for an appropriation?
I-
Or we just run
At the
over?
end of next year?
At the
Jen?
end of next year, you would have to do that.
I-
But
I-
that's under the assumption you have somebody for July 1st.
I would maybe, you want a range instead? So say 16 to 20. Because if
Based
you
on
get, if you get
experience.
someone super qualified that can really enhance and help the office, even 18 is a little dicey now.
What are the qualifications? I mean,
Ask the-
high school grad.
Ask the admin.
So you have to, high school diploma or equivalent, college or vocational training preferred, 3 years of experience in secretarial or general office work or any equivalent combination of training and expertise.
Or maybe make it, keep the 16 as the low and go to 18. And have a range because at least you have something to work with.
I agree with that, 16 to 18. It is hard if you don't have a range at all, you have someone that could come in literally right out of high school with no experience whatsoever, and they're gonna get paid the exact same thing as maybe a stay-at-home mom who was a, admin somewhere else. And I mean, it's definitely like an entry-level office position.
Or like you said, someone that's retired that wants 4 hours.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with the range, if that makes the job more palatable.
And it gives you a little room to work with.
I mean, we're seeing the exact same phenomenon of applicants applying and then just complete, like, not even showing up for interviews. And, I think if we've gotten applicants, that's half the battle. And I don't know if how quickly we see them apply and we're contacting them, because we do find as well that people will, if they don't hear back from you, they've probably applied to multiple different places and they're already moved on. So I don't know how quickly we're able to scoop them up, bring them in.
And sometimes we're not as quick as maybe we could be, but you kind of wait till 2 or 3 accumulate. But I mean,
Yes.
if we see, plus Christine's looking at that and then I review them all. But if Christine's doing other things and then one pops in, she may not get to it right away, but I understand what you're saying.
And so just quickly is searching the Connecticut average. I don't know how accurate this is for a part-time administrative assistant is $17 an hour. So being 16 to 18,
Yeah,
we're right there.
I agree with 16 to 18.
So do we need to make a motion to give a salary range?
Yeah, I think we do.
Okay, I'll make a motion to have a salary range for the administrative assistant from $16 to $18 an hour.
I'll second.
Okay. So any other discussion?
That's posted till filled.
Okay. no other
So if
discussion?
anybody's listening,
Please spread
I'll
the
just say
word.
that,
your friends, family.
in my experience, just being there, that we hope that this person is proficient, I think you mentioned this, with social, with, how to use the internet, both the social media site posting, working with, I mean, that's a big part of the getting information out to the public. Yes, you think of what, it used to be 20 years ago, this job, and it's still that, but now this extra piece
Oh,
is
absolutely.
very important. So
Absolutely.
I just don't want to have someone just think they can just sit there and answer the phone. I mean, I can do that. I do that. So we
Yeah,
need someone that can do things I can't do.
What are the preferred hours that you?
Well, we can go as for 4 hours, as long as it's the same every day. So we can go 8 to 12, we can go 10 to 2, we can go 12 to 4.
But you need them every day.
I like to have them there every day at those hours. I don't want to be jumping back and forth, because then I know I'd always have to say, well, what time's so-and-so coming in tomorrow?
Yeah.
So it just makes us, it's easier for us to set our schedule once we know the office is covered.
But with you've been there almost, what, a year and a half now, almost 2 years, working together, you and Christine, is it been more beneficial in the morning or the after? It doesn't really matter.
I like the morning, but I could work with a 10 to 2 too, because I'm there in the morning, so I can answer the phone. So I can do the 10 to 2. I think I would go morning first, midday second, end of day third, if I could pick. I don't know what do you say? You're the admin. I'm just the first selectman.
Well, as we know, your schedule fluctuates in the spring and summer.
It does.
And so at those times, afternoon would be better to have another person in the office. But it depends on the day, who's coming in at what time and wanting things and needing to get things
Right.
done.
Yeah, I'm sure
Um,
it changes.
And
every
with
day.
having the transfer station permits available for sale,
Oh, that's true.
that's gonna be a whole nother, I think we'll have more volume for that in the afternoon than we will in the morning. But I just want a person. at this
And I
point.
can live with all, if, you know what, if the person said they can do in the summertime, 12 to 4, so the entire summer, and switch the mornings in the winter, I could do that. I just don't want it to change every other day, so
Yeah.
Might be the
I
opposite.
understand.
whatever. It could be whatever. I just want to get someone that can do the job as well as the person we had to do the job that I was lucky to have.
The challenge we're having right now is that we're getting a lot of applicants who are college students that are home for the summer.
Oh,
And so they look really good until you look at it a little closer and you're like, you're very qualified, but you're gonna be here for 3 months and that doesn't.
Yeah, that's not,
So
that's just disruptive.
kind of want someone that's gonna be there, even,
a year.
well, yeah,
Okay, so we voted on that, have we? No.
I don't know.
motion. All right, let's vote on it. So we don't forget, in case we haven't, all those in favor going to the 16-18 range for this position, say aye.
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 Great, 3-0. Sure, you can. What, can you use the mic though?
Yeah,
Because that way the people online can know what you said, Brian. Don't tell me you're gonna apply for the job though, are you? Oh, good. Yes, no. Oh, you don't, I don't.
oh,
care
that was
about-
only preferred. Only preferred.
I can live without that if you can do all the IT stuff for me.
So I think that we see the 16 to 18 based on their experience level. So if you have somebody come in and they've just graduated from high school and really they don't have any other prior experience, we would probably start them at the $16 range. But if you have somebody come in who's a stay-at-home mom or somebody who's retired that has a lot of admin work in the past, then we would definitely want to start them at 18.
or
So,
stay at home dad.
absolutely.
Just wanna throw
Totally.
that out there.
Thank you. As your wife walks in.
Mm.
So not necessarily, Brian, starting out and then increasing them, although they would get a cost of living raise if they were with us long enough. But really, the range allows us to compensate somebody for more experience that they're bringing to the job. Yeah,
But one thing we don't want to do is get someone that's just home for the summer from college and then they're gonna leave in September because why? We want to have someone that can stay here for a while, so. Okay,
oh, then we would
I
definitely.
think if
yeah.
if they're into the college thinking they've got $100,000 in debt, they're looking for more than a $16 to $18 a year hour job, I think.
That's the reality.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, any other questions or comments? I saw. No? Okay. All right, next, ARPA funds, update and discussion. So you've got, you have a list. We just try to get this out usually every meeting, just to let you know where we are and what we have left. Christine, just want to review that, dollars left and what possibly could happen. It should,
So we have the COVID grants fund profit and loss. So we've spent, $1,227,953.20. So we've, allocated all but 61,000 of the money. This is what's actually been spent, but we have 61,000 to be allocated. The EDC Small Business Program is most likely coming to a close. We've asked EDC to officially vote on closing that out, and that'll return about 33,000 on top of the 61 that we have. So we're going to be looking at that moving forward on new ways to spend it. We do need to allocate all the funds by December 31st, 2024. We need to spend them by December 31st, 2026.
so what we'd hope to have is once we know how much money is left, once we get the information back from the EDC, and also there might be coming money back from the demolition. Once we know what the number is, then we need to, as selectmen, start thinking about projects in town. We've got a lot of people have asked for money and we've held them off. I think it's our job to bring ideas to the table and then go to the Board of Finance and let them know what we're thinking. So that'll be down the road.
I have a quick question and completely personally motivated. The condition of the playground equipment at the rec, does that fall under the rec commission to maintain?
Yes.
Or is, okay. Just my daughter being back in town, took my grandson there and she goes, Mommy, the equipment there is really kind of in sad shape. So it was just something that.
The stuff that our kids played on. 20 years
Exactly.
ago.
No, it's it's the stuff that my daughter played on and now she's bringing her son. It's the same stuff. So
Brings back
I'm
memories.
not saying that we need to. I just wanted to ask, is that the town that maintains or is that the rec commission? And I thought that it was the rec.
The rec commission is part of the town, so
Yep,
it's
yeah.
part of their
But
budget.
it would come out of their budget.
Yes.
Okay.
They are getting, they are doing a new delivery of wood chips before the end of the year. So if the concern is ground cover, we are aware of that and we do that every 2 years to make sure everything is well maintained. But as far as individual equipment pieces, we haven't in their meetings had any discussion about replacement of anything. So if there are specific items that you feel need to be updated, please reach out. Yeah, and let us. Very good.
And the fields are in rough shape over there. There are a few things that, if you look at it, would actually come into a capital plan or
Probably.
possibly the next time the grant funding comes around from the state. I don't think the governor has it in his budget for this cycle, so maybe the 2025 budget. But they also do take donations. They are allowed to take donations for things like that. But listening to the Board of Ed and what the cost is on just their small playground that they're looking
Oh.
to redo, it's something that I don't think would fit in their budget for the rec commission
Yeah.
if we were to really do something a little different over there.
And just plug for the Board of Ed, the playground equipment at the new, oh my God, it's fantastic. Really, really nice.
Okay.
Okay,
That's it.
so we potentially may have 140,000 and change coming back from the demolition.
We have essentially 90 something. Oh, I don't expect that all to come back. There's still,
Oh,
some of that
okay.
money's part of retainage. There's still things they've done that haven't been paid for yet. not that we're holding back money, we hold a retainage anyway until the job's complete.
Oh, okay, so I might have misunderstood. I thought that right now we had 140,000
That hasn't been
left.
paid, but still we owe, there's about 40 of that we still owe.
About 100 that
So there's
could.
about
potentially-
100 that.
Okay,
could
okay,
come back.
that could come back.
So we have 90 if EDC vote. So when was the EDC original program voted to
So
be
the,
available till?
the EDC in a meeting earlier this year said that they wanted to accept applications through May 31st.
Okay.
They haven't received any for a couple months. So I reached out and said, at your next meeting, can you have the conversation? And if you want to vote to close out the program so that you
great.
guys can take action on
So
it.
then we'd be about 34,000.
Yeah, I added.
I
up-
mean, sorry, 94,000 available.
Yeah.
And rec still has what, about half their money left?
About half, yeah.
So another about 7,500 bucks.
Yeah, they're still actively, you were at their last meeting, they're
Yeah.
still actively talking about ways to use the funds that they have. But they're just slow going on it.
New seesaw.
There's another funding source that we're going to talk about at the next meeting. I'll give you guys more information at that point. But we were, all of the towns in Connecticut were identified for, funds to be given to their senior programs through ARPA. So we're getting a little over $15,000 for senior specific ARPA programs. So I want to meet with Teresa, tell her what it can be used for, see what thoughts she has. But we have to tie it to COVID related situations, basically. There's very specific things that it could be used for, and there's very extensive reporting that needs to be done with those funds. So what we may need to look at is a larger project that costs more than the 15,000 that we may want to identify these COVID funds to pair with to be able to complete that project. So again, once I talk to Teresa, we'll have a little bit more information, planning on that for the first meeting in June.
And that 15,000 is confirmed?
Yes.
Yes, confirm that it has nothing to do with this ARPA funding. It's its own
Okay.
little, kind of falls again, like opioid money does and nip bottle money does. So
Did you say that was state or federal? The 15.
I don't remember. I know.
I
all
didn't
the-
know if I missed it, so if
all
you did
the-
say it, that's okay.
All the Connecticut municipalities are getting it, but I don't know if it was specifically earmarked at the federal level for, the senior population or if it was earmarked on the state level.
So that's good news. Anytime we get money is a good thing.
Absolutely.
The next two things, which is old business D, we already took 7 out because Alexis will be here at a future meeting. So I'd like to take old business D, which is plan and conservation development update, and kind of combine it a little bit with the community conversation, because we're gonna try to do 2 things at once on that day. I know Stephanie came in, so just a little wrap up of last night's steering committee meeting. We talked about the visioning session, and what we got from the focus groups and from neighborhood groups, what kind of information that's been compiled. And now what we're trying to do is, Juliet's trying to do is compile what's coming back from the surveys. Unfortunately, we only have about 110 or so surveys completed. Is that up from
We're up to 126.
126? But thanks to Brett and I think Tom Fabian and other people starting to put it out on Facebook more. So we liked it, I guess it was over 300 in 2013, but times are different. And people seem to be, we also, as Brett mentioned, we were talking about new schools at the time and new firehouse at the time, and there's a lot of change in town. Got people going where everything now seems pretty good. We have a new schools and a new firehouse, and there's nothing really getting people wired. So maybe that's a little apathy, but we'll see. But we're gonna try to push those as much as we can. So that visioning session would happen on June 24th. I'm gonna have Steph step in and then talk about this more, and then break for lunch, and then go into a repurposing for the demo property session after that. And like we did in that January, we did 2 things at once. We try to do the same thing. Steph, do you have a few minutes to talk about what you'd like to see happen there?
Bob, just quick question on,
Sure.
so there's the all boards meeting type thing that the EDC is doing?
On June
Yeah,
fifth.
do you think they'll give you a few minutes to push all the boards that are there to talk about the P O C D survey and maybe
Sure.
push that?
We'll take that time then. That makes sense. And there's also, as you saw in the email I sent you today about all boards and not all boards, tri-board meeting on June 12th, which the Board of Finance will head that meeting up. And I think it'd be a great time to take a look back at, the budget season we just went through and think about things we could have done differently as far as scheduling, as far as capital. There was a lot of discussion about how we put capital together and when they see it for the first time. So on that Monday at 6 o'clock we'll have in this room, that'll be Board of Finance, Board of Ed, Board of Selectmen, which we've tried to do. We canceled the one in March because we're in the middle of budget season, but I think it's a perfect time now to reflect back on before next budget season, what we could do better. I think overall was a pretty good process, but obviously we did get some feedback on some things that we can improve on. So we can maybe, and also in that meeting, remind all those three boards to help us out with, so that we have two opportunities to get in front of a lot of boards in the next couple of weeks. Okay. Sorry about that. Is your mic working?
I think it's working now. Does that work better? Yeah, okay. So I had a phone call with Juliet last Friday and we talked about ways that we could combine this and be successful and not sort of duplicate efforts. So her idea of doing the visioning session first, I think works. And then hopefully we get people who are maybe interested in one conversation over the other that just decide to make a day out of it. So that's our hope. But I think some things need to happen in the interim. I think we have to mail an invitation. I think we have to do an every door direct mail. I don't think there's any way we're getting people there without it. And I think we can include the QR code for the survey. I think that might be a way to get more survey results as well. I'm hoping that Breeze can help us out. We developed a website last time for community conversations because the invitation couldn't hold enough information to really accurately describe what people were being invited to. So we'll have the link to the website. So we're hoping that Breeze can do a little work to add some stuff about the visioning session so people can get information, RSVP, that sort of stuff. So we also think that our supplies look pretty much like the same supplies. So we all need flip charts, markers, name tags, little dots, that sort of stuff.
Do we have that stuff left over from last?
So we have some of it. I think some of it has been used for various things since then, but I can do an inventory with Juliet and we can see what else we need. Obviously, the other benefit is food. We only have to pay for food for one event rather than two. But I think that a couple of things that need to happen is that you all have to decide what are the questions that you want people to answer. So is it just a blanket, hey guys, we have all of this space, what do you want to do with it? Or are you looking for it to be more directed? Do you want to offer options? As traditionally there are 3 approaches in the small groups. Do you want 3 options, sort of broad options for people to talk about and brainstorm about? Or are you looking to keep the whole thing very open? Not sure which one sort of yields you better results. And then Bob, I think we should talk about what your introduction looks like to make sure that people are getting all the information that they need to have a conversation that makes sense and could actually be possibilities that be implemented rather than, something off the wall that we spend 20 minutes on the small group that can't ever happen or whatever.
No, I understand, but I think that I would hate to keep any ideas not coming to the table that evening. And I know we're not going to be able to give them, if an idea comes out, let's say a splash pad, you know what that is, right? I have no idea what a splash pad costs, so I can't tell them that evening. I can't say, well, if you want, that's going to cost $500,000. So, but I think to get all the ideas, I think the community conversation, get all those ideas, and then, the small groups will bring it to the big group and narrow it down to maybe the 3 that we kind of all agree on. Then I can go back and get pricing on those ideas and maybe have not a community conversation, but some sort of a town meeting or hearing to then air those ideas that came out of community conversation. So we as a selectman can go through that, those multiple ideas after the community conversation. Hopefully, maybe that day we can pare it down to three best ideas. And one idea might be do nothing, just let the grass grow and cut it occasionally, who knows? But if it's, I think it would, then I can get pricing, then we can get a more definite. But I think that, I don't want to know if I want to limit anybody's ideas, because it's, we said it's an open canvas. What do you want there? And someone might think of something that we don't think of as one of, if we say three now, what if there's an idea we think is better than that?
So then do you think that if you give two broad ideas, so maybe one is passive recreation, right? It's a park. It stays the way it is. You make it nice at the park. And then let people add to that conversation about things that might be important to them in a park. Are there spaces for monuments? Do they want special gardens places, memorial things like that? Do you want it to be a recreation space? Are people talking about adding sports fields, splash pads, bubbles, whatever?
Dog parks,
Dog parks.
walking trails.
And then maybe the third approach is, or something else. So I ask, how you want to do it only because the conversation might not be as fruitful if you just leave it open. And I don't think that you should narrow it down, and no one should be sort of defining their suggestions by thinking about things like how much does a splash pad cost? If that's the direction people want to go, we should talk about that. But I wondered if there are specific questions that you are all looking for answers to. And if you have specific questions, then we want to make sure we're leading the conversation in that direction to really get to what people are thinking.
What I will have is, I've been working on it with Dick Seeger. I will have colorized maps of the property without the building there, and green where it's green and black where it's tar and so on.
I
So
was just gonna ask that, is there, or a way to get the highway department to do an actual measurement with the, like, the roller tape of what is there now?
well,
so
I
we
have
know-
we've taken off GIS and colorized it. We might be able to take that map and have footage put on it, if that's what you
Yeah,
mean.
that's what I mean, just size. So sometimes you can look at a parcel map and see it, but people might want to know, well, how long is it really? Like, what could fit in a space that big or that small?
So I think it's going to be important because the library does own, and control is a strong word, but control a certain portion of it. I think that we need to make that very clear. But I also think we have to be really thoughtful about what their vision is. And I'm really hoping that library board members and leadership are going to come, because I think what the community decides is going to be, it has to tie in, right? If the library has a vision of a beautiful bandstand and lawn, and then the town ends up wanting to put a pickleball court right next to it, I just think that we have to have that higher vision. I do agree with you. I don't want to stifle anybody's suggestions, but I do think we have to put a little bit of structure to it. And maybe we do it in stages where maybe the first 20 minutes is complete brainstorming and everybody throwing things on the table of what they want to see, and then whittling that down and getting the focus groups to come up with their top three, because everybody's going to want to put their own idea forward. But I do think we have to have some awareness of what the library has envisioned for their area.
On the colorized maps, we do have, we will know what is town property, what's library property. So we dock in the green where it's library property, so you'll know where that is.
Okay.
So at least we'll have that. So there'll be no mistake about putting, like in the renderings that were done earlier, there was a bandstand put on library property, which, they would have to okay that. We wouldn't do that, they would do that. So I agree with you to a point. I think that if this turns out to be like park-like where it's just greenery, then no matter what they do, it's gonna be fine. It's only if we do something that's either a structure or something that would be more a permanent field, something like that might not tie in the same. We do know that they're gonna keep graduation there for years to come if the school wants it that way. They're not gonna change that. And I think we went to the library's unveiling of what their plans were.
Yeah.
And most of it was some outdoor classroom space and a new entrance area. So there's nothing that they were doing that said to me, this won't work, but again, I've asked the library to have people here, and I'm sure we're gonna get 3 or 4 people from the library here.
Bob,
We can target them with our invitations as well, but maybe for a visual, Bob, you can get one of their outdoor renderings of what they'd like to see so that people there can understand what their vision is.
We just
Maybe
don't,
that helps.
I mean, and my only thought is we don't want a ball field backed up right to potentially a bandstand where, I just think that we need to be aware of that. The every door direct mailings that you're considering, what is that normally running us now?
So my next question is, what's
Yeah.
our budget?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because the ARPA funds that you guys had for the first ones, you gave back after that last conversation. So it's not like that money is being held in any kind of little fund, correct? Right now, okay.
Did we,
did we give it back?
I don't think we gave.
I think it's
don't-
still in the
Yeah,
account,
It's still in there then?
yeah.
under community
Do we
conversation.
know,
It's about 1,000 left, like
okay,
999,
And what, I think every door direct mail is about
467
Yeah.
usually right now.
without printing.
Yeah,
obviously.
just the mailing piece is 467,
oh, just the mail.
just the mail, not the print.
And prints has come down a little in price over here to way back when.
But we could go to the Board of Finance and have that number increased. It's not,
You can also, since this is also for the P O C D, you can split the cost between the P O C D capital line and community conversation.
Mhm.
That's
And,
what it is.
Question, Bob, are there anything or limitations that we have to say because of the education piece of this property? So are restrictions based on it? So you can say, okay, a sports
that's a
field
good
fits
thought.
in because there's one here and that was part of education and things like that, but does a park fall under that? I don't know.
I think, well, there's already a park at the library. So I think if we don't do anything to it and just leave it as grass and maybe move a parking lot, then I think we'd be fine. If we decide to do retail sales on a regular basis, I think that wouldn't be fine.
So do you think you have to put that out there to whoever comes as guests that day to say, hey, reiterate a little bit of that stipulation that we do have restraints? So
I can
you
do that.
can't,
I can do that in my opening comments.
you can't have 20 food trucks there all week long, parked there. That's not enough.
Can I
Not
make some
commercial.
requests about what you might put in those opening
Of
comments?
course.
So can you talk about sort of the background of how we got here, right? And then if you have the figure, the money that's left over after the demo, so people understand that there's not like an infinite amount of funds that could be used here, and that if we wanted to stick with demo funds, like here's what it is, just for people to have a number in their head. The current use of the building, so talk about maybe how much space the Board of Ed is using, how much space you guys are using, the giving closet, food closet, just what's happening here, the daycare, so that people can start to get a feel for what's going on in the space. And how much unused space is left in the building. And then, of course, I think it's really important to talk about the deed restriction,
Okay.
just so that people have a framework. And I think we can give that information to the moderators to take into their small groups as well, in case a question comes up, and maybe they could just post it on the wall so that people can continue to use that.
I think part of the opening should be a 10-minute walking tour of the property to show where the library
Oh, I
grounds
like
are,
I like that a
or
lot.
just to see, so you can actually see the property.
Yep.
Can we put in temporary, like markers, like
to-
stakes in to say, this is where technically the town property ends, this is where the library
Well,
begins?
not, maybe a little less technical, but the black tar sidewalk is the unofficial. Wheelers on one side and towns on the
All
other.
right.
I mean,
that's
give or
probably
take
good
3 or
enough.
4 feet one way. or the
Yeah,
other.
I'm not saying exactly,
Yeah,
let's not have a
that's,
survey.
we already have that. That actually has always been that. It's,
Okay.
it runs almost right down the line.
I thought that the deed restriction was specifically on the structure that was built on the land. I didn't think it was on the land itself.
Well, see, that's a great question. So
That's-
though, that
that
might come
is.
up,
I'll clear that up ahead of time.
see? Yeah, that'll be nice to have that kind of information.
So when
So,
Ringling Brothers comes, they're allowed.
yeah, that's right. You can have a 3.
Okay, any other Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So should I move forward?
Yes,
Do we have to come up with a budget?
Well, I mean, we have,
if we have $1,000 and we have money in,
and then POCD.
POCD, we put our 1,000, they put their 1,000, we probably cover the whole thing.
Or do you want to make a motion of a $2,000 budget?
Well,
I don't think you need to, because you already have the money for the.
So we can
PhD
just
and you
pull
already
it.
have the community conversation, then they've both been voted on.
Gotcha.
Do you have to agree to an every door direct mail?
I don't think so.
We could just do it.
But I think you should agree to the date and time.
The date and time.
the 24th, right? You said June
What
24th?
would you have for times? It was at
10 to 11:30 for Juliet, 11:30 to 12 for lunch, and then 12 to 2 for the community conversation.
I think if we do the walking tour, which I say 10 minutes will turn into 20, I think that makes sense to go to 2 o'clock. Originally, I thought it was too long, but when we add that in and then kind of herd the cats back, right? So,
I think with lunch, sort of the potential for lunch to bleed into that beginning, I thought 2 o'clock was safer, just so we could set people's expectations.
we can start thinking about, talking about that date, June 24th, 10 to 11:30, lunch break, 12 to 2.
Do you
Right.
think
Juliet
10 is
thinks,
early enough? I'm just wondering because some people look at a Saturday in June as, okay, can I bang things out? If I'm gonna do a town event, do it in the morning and be done by early afternoon and not waste the whole rest of their day.
I
2
think
o'clock.
9
gets
is
a little-
too, I think 9 is too early for people. But if you're gonna add a little 10-minute walking tour outside, I'm worried that 10 to 11:30 is not enough time. to
Walking
get-
tour is only for the second part of the meeting, don't forget. It has nothing to do with the first part. of the
Gotcha. Okay,
meeting. After
okay.
lunch, we can walk off our
Gotcha.
lunch.
All right.
How would that be?
So POCD first, lunch, and then community conversation.
Mhm. That sounds good.
So do we have to make a
So-
motion on the date?
We can just agree to it, I guess. Do you want, if you want to make it official, we could say it's the 24th, or do you?
I know Christine's giving us that look like we should make a motion.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we hold the POCD community conversation and the use of 298 open space conversation on June 24th with the times 10 to 11:30 for the POCD and what was it, 12 to 2 for the space.
I'll second that very long motion.
and I will agree with that also. I would just say, Steph, when we do, can we get a look at the mailer before you send it? Okay, and maybe we can put a little bit about, the walking tour on there, come and see the property. Not that there's a lot to see, but, yeah, okay. All right, all those in favor of that date and time, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, done. What do you,
So we just did 6D and 8 at the same time,
we
right?
did.
Woo-hoo.
Let's go to any questions, anything online? Brian, hi Kasha. Okay, next. Lake of Isles Conservation Easement Discussion. I gave you a handout earlier. Let me find my copy. And what that is, that's from the Conservation Commission. They've met, we have not heard back from the Mashantucket attorney. And Rob Avina's been waiting to hear back from him because he's waiting to hear what he's got to say before he lets me know what he thinks on his end. And then, but I got the Conservation Commission's piece in the middle.
So our lawyer is waiting for their lawyer.
So we had a meeting. It was myself, Jeremy Whipple, Bill Ricker, Rob Avina, and the Mashantucket attorney,
Okay.
just to say, this is what's happened.
Yep.
How do we fix it? And the two big concerns on the town side is, one is we are obligated to recognize and enforce or sometimes penalize if conservation easements are at all disturbed in our town. That's our job. Secondly, if we don't do that, we're setting a precedent that someone else can go and do the same thing on their piece of conservation easement. We want to do that. So we're right now, we're kind of hanging out there. There's a couple of things that the town, not that we did, but we weren't prepared for. We didn't have a planner at the time when the person that came in that was going to do the cutting Came in, he asked a question of a person who's not a certified planner. He was given the answer that, hey, if it's on private property, we don't care what you do. But it was never mentioned that there's an easement on the private property. So he got the answer he wanted, went out the door, everything's fine. So that was one, on the town side, we weren't prepared because we didn't have the plan to give the proper answer.
Yeah,
That's one. thing.
And I remember talking about that,
But
but
Yeah.
for somebody who is very well skilled in what he does, and I was impressed with his education, I, who know nothing, drove up to the property and sees clearly the little triangle of conservation land.
No,
So
I understood.
so I agree that we probably could have done a little bit more investigation, but
Well, that's one piece.
just, yeah, okay.
You know, there's two pieces of, there's two conservation easements that were disturbed.
right. So are we technically in litigation about it now?
No,
Where we should be talking about this?
no, because we're just trying to hammer out, we're not trying not to go to litigation. So we're trying just to hammer an agreement out that we can, as a board of selectmen, can agree on. All the conservation commission can do is come to us with that advice, our attorney can advise us, but we will ultimately make the decision on what the outcome will be. So the second thing is, there was a second piece of property that we found when Christine and Bill went out on a golf cart ride in the rain, I think it was, or cold, one of the two. And we went to it, they found a second easement that was disturbed that had no blue diamonds on it. Because we gave the town, before our time, gave a pile of these blue diamonds to the guy, Troon, who's running the golf courses for the Mashantuckets. Said, hey, can you put these on the trees for us in this area? Oh, sure. When they did the ride, they were not out there, and we found they were still sitting on the guy's desk. And Troon is no longer the managing company, managing the Lake of Isles. It's a new guy who was very apologetic, said, oh, by all means, I'll get these things out right away. And I said, that's great, Bill, but now, if he says that, can we go back a month from now, make sure we see those around the trees? Don't just rely on the fact that they said they're gonna do it and then they didn't. So the second piece of land, there is no blue diamonds. So all I'm saying is that those are two facts that they might be able to use on their side. Whether we think they're solid or not, that's a determination. But if you look at the last section of this, the Conservation Commission suggestions, and PTM means Mashantucket Pequot Tribal Nation, as we know, to stop all further timbering in any conservation area, which they have done. To assume all legal costs for lawyer involvement. I think, and this isn't our fault, if why should we pay the attorneys on something somebody else did? So I want to get our attorney fees paid by the Mashantuckets. We shouldn't have to pay for these. Third, to place alternative property into a conservation easement. What they're asking is, since they screwed up on this property and they can't grow trees back 20, 30-year trees in 1 year, no matter what they plant, they want to now take another property, identify that as a conservation easement to say, okay, you screwed up this property, now restore that, but we want another one put into an easement. That's what they're asking for. The next is to replant disturbed areas with indigenous plantings. Talking to people from the, I can't think of the forestry. They said most times that doesn't happen because those trees don't grow. They put in small seedlings and if there's a big umbrella cover, they don't get enough light, they don't grow any. But if you just let the forest will replenish itself over time just by droppings, acorns and seedlings will drop it and grow, and that's how that happens. So, and then the last thing is, they're asking the Mashantuckets to forfeit any money they got from timbering and put into the town's land acquisition fund or conservation related initiatives. So obviously that's coming from the Conservation Commission. And that would be a monetary penalty. I don't know what that amount is. If it's in the thousands, it probably is. But that's something that we'll have to talk about. This is from the conservation. I think this is probably the harshest of all the alternatives. I think the Mashantuckets would probably say they'd like to stop cutting, which they have, clean up their mess, which they haven't yet, and walk away. And I think maybe the answer might be somewhere in between those two, but that'll be the three of us to decide as a board.
Oh, so we're not voting on
No,
our stance?
no, because we're still waiting to
No,
get
these are just recommendations
from the
from the
Conservation
conservation.
Commission.
Right, but they're basically saying that they'd like to do it even if it's independent from what the attorney thinks.
Yeah,
You're right. If the
So
attorney,
then I mean,
but they're an advisory board to the board of selectmen. We don't have to go with this. We could, but we could do this. We could do what the Mashantuckets want, whatever that happens to be, or somewhere in between. I think this will be the harshest of the three. Just my guess.
so from when we had that meeting there in that walking property, I thought it was said that they don't wanna, they're stopping now only because of this is happening, but what they would like is to finish what they started there.
Yeah, so they're stopping now, and in that meeting we had with the attorneys, they've agreed to stop, period. They wouldn't come back for another maybe 3 to 4 years, go through the proper channels with the land use office, whoever happens to be sitting there at the time, and see if they can get some sort of forest husbandry, what are they calling it? Forestry maintenance,
Husbandry.
I don't know. But they would lay off this for about 4 years, come back and sit with the land use office and say, this is what we'd like to do. We know it's conservation easement. What can we do? And what can't we do? So start over again, but wait for 4 years to do that.
And what about the other property or the other area that they know they probably should have never touched?
Same thing. That comes into just like the two, taking the two as equal. So stop, clean up and leave it alone at that point. I think that's what they're gonna want to do, but I haven't seen it yet.
so either way, we haven't gotten, so what you're saying is that their lawyer needs to contact Avina and he needs to gather all the information to advise us as the town on how to move forward and what we think is within our rights and not.
And also with the Attorney General's office and see what the state's saying we
Yeah.
should do. So he'll bring that to us. So we'll see, we know what the Conservation Commission wants to do. We'll know by that time what the Mashantuckets want to do and what the Attorney General would like us to do and what Rob Avina suggests we do. We don't have to act on any of those unless the Attorney General says you have to do something. Other than that, it's our decision.
Okay.
So it could be a combination of all three. It could be this could be it. So.
So either way, we don't have to do anything tonight until we
Nothing
can
tonight.
get.
No, because we don't have
advisory.
all the information. So
Yeah.
once we have it all, I think we put our heads together, say, knowing the consequences I spoke about early on, two things we didn't want to do, was set a precedent and not act. We're already acting, so we think we're covered on the first one. So make sure that we do something that makes sense for the town and also say, don't do this to your property. Now, we did send out letters to everyone in town that has a conservation easement on their property, saying, not saying that this happened, saying that somebody on conservation, we didn't say who it was, someone disturbed the conservation property, don't do it to your property. This is this fair warning. Check with your deed, go to the town hall, make sure if you have conservation easement, check before you do anything, because you're not supposed to do anything with it. So we have, at least we're ahead of the game now.
So the only thing I would ask for going forward, when we talk about this again, if these are the recommendations from Conservation Commission and where it says to place alternative property into conservation easement, that seems like a difficult thing to try to get them to do, but I do think that might be the case of where they did it near the golf course to now find other area near that place. I think where we toured already, that'd be tough to take that, say that's conservation easement, and we want more somewhere else. But the place where the golf course is, they known about that for a long time. But I would like to see if that's something we might recommend, that the Conservation Commission come up with some kind of mapping to show us what area they're thinking of having us recommend as additional conservation.
No, I think I'd like to see a map that says, this is what they do, this is where they're acting now, which we have those maps. Show me where you're gonna, what else you're gonna turn into an easement that we can agree to and agree to
Exactly.
it. I
Just
think
because I
that,
know their meeting schedule and stuff like that, so if they talk about it, maybe have that map.
I think the toughest one I have trouble with is the last one on here. So I don't know how much, what kind of money that is and
Yeah, I think it's hard for us to find out really how much it is.
Yeah,
too.
it would be hard to, I think, quantify that. I mean, obviously the stumps are left. You could count the stumps, but
and I don't know, and how much are they selling for a raw board bit of lumber, so. anyway, we just want to talk about this tonight, get it on the table.
Yeah.
As we get more information and in one of our upcoming meetings, we'll have to make a decision on what we want to do as a town. And it's a board of selectmen decision.
Okay.
Okay?
Do we have any kind of a timeline on when we might get something from Aveen?
I hope to have something before our next meeting, so we can
Oh,
discuss
okay.
this on the 13th. I'm surprised we don't have it by now, to be honest with you. Not so much from our attorney, but from the National Tech attorney. As of last week, Jeremy was still waiting, Jeremy Whipple was still waiting to hear from his attorney. Okay. Any questions on that? Yes, Brian.
Yeah. Um,
Just put it up to your mouth a little bit closer.
I think I heard you say something about the Conservation Commission, let's see, go into land acquisition.
That's their suggestion. They
That's
said
their recommendation.
if we fine them by having them give us the money they earn by selling the lumber to the distributor or the mill, they want to take that money as a fine and put it into acquisition and or what else I say, or
Or other
other
conservation,
conservation.
I heard that,
related.
but couldn't that just go back into the general fund? Because I look at it the same situation as a school when we get, for the students that come in and get
That's
Other
the
tuition.
tuition goes into the town, correct?
so since it's town attorney and all, I would think we have to go back into the general.
Yeah, that's just the Conservation Commission's recommendations. The Board of Selectmen had the final decision because they're an advisory board. So we will make that determination and I don't disagree with you. I mean, obviously, conservation is going to want to put it back to do something with conservation. But as you said, tuition, the school does all the work, but the tuition goes to the town, right? So that's a good example, actually.
I think we can get a hold of it. Well, I don't know, the logs are gone,
Yes.
because they usually, I know a couple of guys that used to do that, especially one of them, and he used to buy it by the tree. You know, he'd estimate how much lumber he could cut out of that. If he get $300 or $400 for a tree or something like that, depending on the type of tree it was, whether it was oak, whether it was walnut. So yeah, if you don't have the logs there, but if you know who took them away, then they must have that, they must know that.
Oh, I'm sure they have an agreement or contract with who they sold the logs to.
I'm sure you get.
Mhm.
Right.
Thank you. Anything else on that? Okay, next. Use of opioid settlement funds. So we know that we have, as Christine mentioned earlier, we have these different buckets of money that come in that have to be used for something pretty specific. And we spoke about this one before. And now the state's starting to ask, so what are you using your money for? And we checked into the Narcan at your request, what it cost to make sure that the ambulance and the fire company had enough Narcan. It was a very small amount of money. I think it was it $300, $400?
Yeah, they only spend about $300 a year.
So it wasn't a lot of money. So that was, we could do that. But
What do we
still-
have to spend again?
$17,374.60 as of right now. We're going to be getting another payment of $3,007.56 in June or July, depending on when the check comes.
So we're gonna have about $20,000.
Did we, consult the school or Board of Ed as far as any type of anti-drug and alcohol education that might be able to be brought to the school?
And like a DARE program or something?
Yeah.
We've done DARE programs in the past. We haven't. I did contact, I think it was at your request, Ledge Lake and Uncas Health Districts and find out if their towns have given any money to them for education, and they have. Not big sums of money, but 3 towns have given money to Ledge Lake and a couple of towns have given money to Uncas. So That is another possibility, not all of it, but to give them some money, that's a possibility. We can't spend it just for the sake of spending it. It has to do with drug awareness, drug rehabilitation. This was brought to my attention last night as a thought. Someone said, well, could we put a billboard up? This was a billboard that was in Rhode Island 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe not the exact billboard, but they just want to show me a picture of, is this a possibility? And I thought, well, maybe it is. It definitely falls under opioid on usage. It is a preventative. It addresses directly to opioid painkillers. I mean, so it addresses the situation. So I'm not saying we have to vote on this tonight, but we need to start thinking about how we want to spend this money, because we have to spend it, and as we spend it in the right areas. I just thought this might be an idea that either we'd say, yes, this is a good idea, or it's not a good idea, it's a bad idea.
And I mean, just off the cuff, we've only had that one billboard area in town off 184.
That's where we would go.
Yeah, I don't know how much visibility you get down there. I would personally like to see a little more outreach to the community and to the schools, to some kind of public awareness campaign, maybe. I'm sure there's programs we can look at, but I mean, there was another one this week. So I do think there is something that we can do within our community to get more public outreach, and something that'll be meaningful to even the kids in the town, and something that would reach them. And I don't know what that is, but I know there are groups out there that might be able to help us with that, or somebody at the school, like you said, that just in the community can promote something.
Well, why couldn't Stephanie bring it back to the Board of Ed and have them let them know? Sure.
Steph used to work in this business. You gotta.
Community Speaks Out is a nonprofit organization that's based in Groton. It was founded by Joe and Tammy Delacruz after their son struggled with opiate addiction for years and years and years. And they do incredible work in the community, and that's what they do. It really is community work. They were actually in our schools last year as part of someone's senior project. They did education with the kids all day and put on a program at night. I think if someone reached out to them to talk about the education piece, there's so much miseducation about opioid dependence, and especially for parents to understand what's really out there. I wonder if they could point you in the direction of some education that could be offered. I know that when I talked to them last year, they were talking about putting on plays about opioid dependence using local kids to do it. So even something like that, I think would be really incredible. But I think you could do fantastic creative things with $17,000 that would be way more impactful than maybe just a passive thing that we drive by. People really need to be educated.
No, I don't disagree. This is just one of, like, giving $300 worth of Narcan to the Ambulance Association. You know, it's only a small piece of the whole, but if we can do multiple small pieces, but we needed one or two bigger pieces.
Yeah, I
So
would recommend talking to
Do
them.
they do you know, do they do just mostly schools, or do they do
No, they
community
do.
outreach?
It's community-based outreach. That's
And
why they'll come to the school. If you call them, they'll come.
Is he the former state rep?
Yeah.
Yeah. So should that come from the Board of Ed or from the Board of Selectmen?
I think it depends how you want to use it. If you're looking for a community forum, it doesn't have to be at the school. If you're looking to embed it in the curriculum, well, that's something different. Maybe it's multi-pronged approach.
Is DARE part of the curriculum anymore?
We haven't
Is it a
done DARE.
regular occurring thing in the
We
schools?
do. We have it back again.
Okay.
And I
We
mean,
do?
maybe talking
This
to
year.
Jason about what he thinks is a good idea.
Back again this year?
Yeah,
they just
it
brought it back.
just came back now. Stephanie, do you think if we reached out to this group and asked them, what could you do if we gave you funds? It would be worthwhile to have them come and possibly do a presentation.
I
and
think if you
explain
reached
what they
out to
could
them
do.
and said, we have this money and we want to use it in a way that's really going to be impactful for our community,
They might be able to
They
come
could-
up with.
they
the
could talk
funds,
to you
yeah.
about it.
I think Heather's pretty close with them also, even though
Yeah,
Joe
I
is
think
not
so
a
too.
party, but I
Yeah.
think they're all pretty close, so.
Yeah, they're really good people.
And I think Greg Howard could probably help out with that too.
Sure.
That's a good
Yeah, I
idea.
mean, I think that the schools are definitely the way to go, but there's nothing saying that we couldn't have one evening at the library, another type of community education sponsored by this group that would hit a whole nother population.
Right, because I think you do need to reach out more than just the parents. You need to reach out to some of the community members that are struggling
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
or not aware, that might not be involved in a lot of the stuff that we
Yep.
are involved in or in the schools. So maybe somebody that specializes in can give us some recommendations on.
What's the name
how
of
to
the
reach.
organization again?
Community Speaks Out.
Never actually heard them speak. I think Cheryl Beekett was part of a program that they did.
Yes.
Yep.
They're just, they bring in people who have had these experiences. Their presentations are really, really wonderful. And I
Okay.
think now, if you look at the fentanyl crisis in London County, it's really, it's wild how much we're seeing. And it's killing people. It's killing adults, killing kids. And people don't understand.
And if we get our 2 resident troopers involved, it'd be a good idea too.
I think it'd be great. In
Perfect.
fact, I know that Community Speaks Out actually works closely, especially with Groton PD, but I'm sure they do work with the state police.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
That
you.
is a good idea. Thank you.
Any other discussion on that?
So, does somebody want to reach out to them?
Yeah, I'll reach out
Okay.
I'll reach out to the group and to Jason
Okay.
and I'll probably run something by Troy too, just to let him know we're working on it. See if he wants to be part of it.
'Cause I know the school does stuff, but as a community, I don't think I can recall anything or any outreach we've tried to do to the community itself.
Sometimes in a community like ours too, it's not always public. It's, you see it in the paper about New London
No,
and
it's there
Norwich,
though.
but it's there, but we don't
Sure.
always recognize it. Sometimes it gets pushed in the back corner, you know. All right, so those are good ideas and thank you. Thanks, Stephanie. Okay. Tax refunds. This is typically Brett's area of expertise.
I can do
There's a-
it this time.
You want to do it?
Do you
Sure.
want to do minutes or do you want me to?
It doesn't matter to me. I can,
There are 3 separate summary pages that
Right.
need to be
Yeah, there are a
approved.
lot. Go ahead. You want me to?
I can do it.
Okay.
So make a motion to do tax refunds for this first group, $10,573.93 for James Campo, Anthony Castagno, Dalgen Corp., Mary Lawless, Kristen Main, Patricia Tennant, and Dennis Wally.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
But I just want to say, I did check some of this stuff because this is probably one of the bigger ones that we've done to individuals, so I did check because I was concerned. But it looks good.
I think it's just a matter of our new tax collector getting, playing catch up,
Yeah.
getting caught up, and she's doing a great job doing it, so.
Okay.
All right, so if there's no other discussion, all in favor of approving those tax refunds as read by Brett, say aye. Aye. Opposed, none,
Okay,
3-0.
second group in the amount of $180.43 to Timothy Beatty, Giuseppe Cardillo, Samuel Jocelyn, and Samuel Young.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
And where, you said there was 3?
there's another one that starts with
I'm missing
Connecticut
one.
Light and Power.
I'm missing.
Oh, it's on the back page.
This one?
Oh, so sorry.
Okay, I'll make a motion for a tax refund totaling $780.88. On the list is Connecticut Light and Power, Justin, Michael Gray, Michael Green, and Petro Holdings.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? None, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Number 12 minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the Town of North Stonington's Board of Selectmen special meeting on April 18th at 6:30, April 18th, 2023 at 6:30 PM at the North Stonington Education Center and via Zoom as written.
I'll second since Brett wasn't here for that meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
I'll abstain.
Okay, 2-1. 2-0. 2-0. Okay, next.
And I'll make a motion to approve the Town of North Stonington's Board of Selectmen special meeting via Zoom only on April 21st, 2023 at 10:30 a.m. as written.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Public comments. Any public comment before we go into executive session? Anything online? Okay, so just for the people that are online and people that are here, will know we're going to be going to an executive session. We never know how long it's going to take, so we'll be going to that, then we'll be coming out of executive session and get back into the meeting, and then we'll adjourn. So if there's no comment, I make a motion that we go into executive session. And I motion that Christine Dias is in the session with us.
I'll second that motion.
Oh, sorry, Kasha. And I am invite Kasha also to be in the session with us
I'll second that.
again. No,
Okay.
no, okay, again. So it's us, Christine, and Kasha in the executive session. Great. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thanks. Okay, we're back from executive session. And is there anything else that we need to speak to about tonight?
The next meeting is on the agenda.
Oh, yeah, I have to give the time when we adjourn to.
Usually you have to remind me of that.
So the next meeting is, June 13th. At 6:30 and,
Make a
does
motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
okay, second. So we're, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourning at, 8:55.